welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because that's what all my friends do, and we're friends now. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and our two hell kittens, actual cats, not humans, Minerva and Astoria, and this is my corner of the internet where we talk about all the things that I'm making. It's where we talk about all the things that I'm knitting and spinning and sewing and potentially weaving. It is just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. There are a million voices vying for your attention on the internet, and you saw whatever this is and decided to give that a go, and that makes you a rad human. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you so much for coming to the channel. Thanks so much for being here. I have a lot to talk to you about. I feel like I say this every time. Well, at least every time recently, but it's been true. It's been true every single time. I have a lot to talk to you about. I have 2 finished objects. I have a boatload of WIPs. I have an acquisition. I have a cow that I want to talk to you about. I have a make-along that I want to talk to you about. I haven't thought about a thing that sparks joy. So if I think about something while I'm working, then we'll talk about a thing that sparks joy. But I have a lot to talk to you about. So let's skip all the intro. I'm good, guys. I'm good. I'm here. This is episode 4 for 2025. So we're doing all right. So let's just skip the chit chat and let's get going. Finished object number 1. I'm wearing it. I finished my grid Gambit, y'all. I finished my grid Gambit. I wish you could see maybe I could stand up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna try standing up. I've never actually moved on this channel, so we'll see. I'll try standing up. So here we go. Here's what my grid Gambit looks like. Oh, it's pretty, y'all. She's pretty. This is what it looks like on. It hits. So here's my full bust right here. This is where it hits. It hits a little bit lower than my full bust. I'm gonna sit back on, sit back down though, because y'all don't need to see what pants I'm wearing. So here's my cowl. For reference, if you're new here and you haven't seen me talk about this, I made this entirely out of handspun. My main color, I'm gonna keep it on. My main color was from a sheep named Andromeda, and she was a half Columbia, half CVM fleece that was processed by my friend Melissa at Melly Knits. And my contrast color was called Gingerbread House, and it was dyed by Nest Fiber Studios, and I spun a 3-ply fractal yarn for my contrast color. This yarn, and I talked about this last time, was early hand spun, so it was quite dense and not necessarily ropey, but it wasn't my favorite knitting experience, but it blocked out beautifully. Oh my God, it blocked out so nicely. This is my first time doing any sort of seaming. I've never seamed anything. Yeah, that's true. I've never seamed anything. I've never knit a seamed garment that was knit in pieces and had to be put together. I've never done that sort of thing. Everything I've done has been one sort of construction. So this is my first time seaming. And as far as the seaming goes, because it's in the back, I didn't really care and I did not do the tidiest job. I probably could have done a neater job with my mattress, but I was just like, it's going in the back. No one's going to see it. I don't really care. And I love this. It blocked out. So this is definitely fabric that does crazy things in the blocking. The stitch pattern really opens up. I'm really pleased with this low contrast version. I need to be careful because I'm wearing my mic. Where is my mic? I'm wearing my mic right here. So I need to be careful about causing too much ruckus with the sound that's coming in. I'm trying a different mic setup. We will see how it goes. So I need to be cautious about how much sound I have coming in, but maybe actually it might be smart to take this off. It might be smart to take it off. Yeah, just for the sake of giving the new sound setup the best possible chance to do well. I'm gonna take it off. Yes, so the way this works is if you've knit any of those Andrea Mowry patterns, you start at one side, you knit a fun, weird pentagon. I was like, what is that shape? You knit a pentagon, and then when you're done, you seam it shut. So here's my seam line. Again, is it tidy? I don't know. Does it work? Sure. And then when you're done, you have this fun shape. I love the grid. I love the grid. It's so beautiful. The fabric is it has really nice drape. You can kind of see it. It has really nice drape, has really nice handle. I'm going to wear this every day. I'm going to wear this every day. I'm probably going to make 2 more. Honestly, I'm not one for gift knitting, but I would make this for someone. This took me almost 3 weeks, but it took me almost 3 weeks because this was my book bag project. So I only worked on it when I wasn't home. So if I made a stop after work or if I had downtime, this was not pulled out at home. And if I worked on it at home and actually focused, I probably could have gotten it done in a week. But because this was my book bag project, it did linger for 3 weeks, but it's also really easy size to pull out. when you're not at home, like it's a really good project size to pull out. Man, that handspun looks so good, y'all. I'm so happy with this. I'm so happy with this. So finish object number 1. And I do have a little bit of a montage. I think I have I'll stick it here. I have a little bit of a montage. I did film myself working on various places of it. I'm going to try to do that when I'm like working on a particular, especially if I know that that project's going to be finished this week, is do some sort of like montagey thing so you can see like kind of the behind the scenes of me working on a thing. But yeah, guys, if you haven't knit, I haven't told you what this is called. This is the Grid Gambit by my friend Samantha Guerin, which I've talked about. Actually, this is only the second time I'm talking about it. I talked about it on the last episode. Sam did a cowl with Emily at the Botanical Knitter, and I didn't jump on the immediately, and then FOMO got me and bit me in the butt, and I made one. And now I'm probably gonna have to make 3 because this is incredible. The pattern obviously is available on Ravelry. I will link it in the description. It is written for a color changer yarn, but you could also do it with minis. I chose to do a lower contrast version, so you can see there are places where the contrast dips in and out. I really liked the idea of a lower contrast version, but you know, pick your poison, do whatever. There are tons of examples on Ravelry. I think this project has like this pattern has like 500 projects these days. So tons of examples if you want like color inspiration, but here's mine, you know. Here's mine. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm going to a knitting thing tomorrow, and I will be wearing this. I'm going to style my entire outfit around this. You better believe this is going to be on my body tomorrow. Subject number 2 is some yarn. You know, lest you forget that this is also a spinning podcast. I've been knit crazy. I've been, woo child, I have been knit crazy. I have been all the way down the rabbit hole. I've just been knit. I'm honestly concerned that I might give myself an RSI at some point. I do have carpal tunnel. I probably should be nicer to my hands, but I've just been knit crazy. I've been knit crazy, but I did take the time to finish this. Y'all, look at this shine. So this is a skein of Gotland Singles processed by my friend Melissa at Melly Knits. And yeah, I left it as a singles. Gotland is a long wool, and long wools can be very easy to over twist and to end up with ropey yarn. And I loved the singles, and I was like, I could try to ply this. Like I could probably ply this, or I could leave it just like this. Like, look at how beautiful. I mean, I'll get closer so you can actually see how beautiful. Guys, I have not figured out my lights. Don't at me. It is also 8 o'clock at night. So the lighting in here is interested. Post-production, Tashi's gonna have work to do. But if I didn't film this like this time, it was not happening this week. So we're filming this at 8 o'clock. We'll figure out the post-production lighting, but don't at me. But here we go. Here's the yarn. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. So since this is a singles, what I did do in the washing, look at that, fully balanced. No spin on that at all. Fully balanced, hanging perfectly even. I have just under 600 yards, 594. I have 594 yards. And what I did do, because this was a singles, was I fold the yarn slightly. So in the finishing process, I dunked it in hot water and then cold water and then hot water and then cold water and then hot water and then cold water. I did it 3 times. And every time I went in the cold water, I agitated it a little bit. Like I put it in the bucket and then I like zhuzhed it a little bit to start encouraging the singles to felt slightly, to give it a little bit more to make it a little bit more robust. Now, this did not snap at all in the skeinin process, and I use a dataless whirligig to skein on my yarns because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to use a nitty knotty and do it by hand. And this did not snap at all in the process. So it probably would have been fine without the fulling, but I did want to make sure. Now I probably should skein this again because since I fold it, the individual like singles are starting to stick to each other a little bit because, you know, the felting process happened. So I think what I'm going to do is like rehank this again and then store it. I think I'm going to rehank it, open those individual like singles up, separate. You can kind of see, right? Like you can see where they're like stuck together a little bit. So I want to rehank them, open those individual singles up before I store it in this like semi-felted state. I was thinking about knitting a lacework shawl. Lace is really, you know, most people talk about like 2-ply yarns for lace. For the 2-plies pose each other in the yarn over, and the yarn is open up really nicely. But this has to be knit with. It just has to be knit with. It is so stinking soft. I mean, I know that like the long wools don't get as much good press as the fine wools. They can be a bit more challenging to spin. If you can spin a singles yarn, and spinning a long wool singles would change your life. I spin almost all my long wool singles these days. I have a skein of Cotswold singles. I have a skein of a Finn Icelandic cross singles. I have a skein of Icelandic singles. And now I have a skein of Gotland. Also, that luster, y'all, this is going to be so decadent around my neck. There's no prickle to this. There's no prickle at all. I spun it really, really soft. I think like a 10-to-1 ratio, fully long draw, no continuous back, no smoothing. I went full long draw as far as I could go, 10-to-1, skeined it up. And look, it's just, highly recommend trying a wool that you've never tried before. Like, I mean, you know, if you're in your wheelhouse and you're spinning your default yarns and you're comfortable there, do what feels good for you. But every now and then, highly recommend you just take a little step out of your comfort zone and try something new. And honestly, you know, what's the worst that could happen? You don't like it? Sheep grow wool again. You learned something. And I always advocate for trying something new because even if you don't like the finished object, sometimes the finished object is knowledge, and that's the thing that you gained. And it's okay to have just gained knowledge on a project. And also, sometimes that project might surprise you and you end up with something beautiful. So here's my second finished object, this luscious skein of yarn that is going to become some sort of like sultry neck thing that I can throw on my shoulders because I'm a shawl person. I don't know if you've noticed, if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen several pictures of me just wearing the same 2 shawls over and over. I have 2 shawls that I've both knit this year. I'm a shawl person. I need more. So there's probably gonna be more shawls incoming. But yeah, Gotland, y'all. Gotland. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right, let's do WIPs. I have 5. You've seen 3. And I think that's pretty good that I have 6. You've seen 3. Jesus Christ. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that like having only 2 new WIPs is a good week. And then I realized I have 3 new WIPs. But I also think I only had 3 new WIPs last week. So let's get to it. All right. WIP number 1. I'm still using these baskets, by the way. These are how I organize my WIPs. And they're life-saving because once it's time to do the podcast, I just grab baskets. WIP number 1. Guys, I finished the yoke on my... oh, those needles are not noisy. I'm sorry. I finished the yoke on my Northern Lights pullover. And here's what it looks. Sorry. So, are you ever pleased with your own work? Does that ever happen to you when you're pleased with your own work? So you see your work through, like, I'm looking at I have my viewfinder and I'm looking at this in the camera and I was flummoxed. So sorry for the cackle, but I am pleased with this. So even if you aren't pleased, I am pleased. I'm pleased for myself. Okay, moment of incredible vanity over. Let's get in this. So I finished my yoke of my Northern Lights pullover by Sorry Nordland, which looks insane on camera. I'm so happy. Ooh, a moment of silence. A moment of silence. Why can't it needs to be cold now, y'all. It needs to be cold now so I can wear this. I gotta wait till like September. Honestly, with global warming and the way the world is melting and the way the current administration is doing everything possible to augment that, I'm gonna be wearing this in like December. But haha, it's finished. Woo! I think I'm okay now, but like my voice is gonna be a little weird for a little bit because that coughing fit almost ended me. I'm gonna put this down so you don't have to listen to the needles anymore. This is the Northern Lights pullover by Sorry Nordland. I finished the yoke, I've split for sleeves, and I'm ready to start working short rows. My stitch marker is another stitch marker from the Hello Lavender and, come on guys, focus, the Hello Lavender and Little Fiber Co line. This is the Nectar color. And here's my yoke. My main color is Blue Sky wool stock in the color Cast Iron, and it's this dark gray gunmetal color. And then my handspun is called Aurora, and it's on Cormo. And honestly, that's what inspired the entire project. If you're new here, handspun. If you're not new here, you heard me talk about this at length. But what inspired the entire project was that skein of yarn, because I was like, oh no, if Sari has a pattern called Northern Lights and I have a skein of yarn called Aurora, it's happening. And I love the low contrast, man. It's so the last time you guys saw it, I think I was at this like green line. There, a 65 row color work chart is a lot of color work. And I think at the highest, I had like 350 stitches on these needles. And by like the last 6 rows of this color work, I was like, I was fighting for my life. The last 10 rows, I was literally fighting for my life. I was just like, this is okay. We can do this slowly. We have all the time in the world, but I was fighting for my life, I'll be perfectly honest. But 65 row charts. Sari does have you do the short rows after the color work, so you can just cast it on and immediately go for it. I'm knitting mine on US 7s. I thought, there's a fun story. I thought I sized up to 8s for the color work because I'm knitting my body on 7s, and I finished my color work, went to size up my needles, and realized I knit the whole thing on 7s. So that happened. We'll see what this does when it blocks out. I think my tension, all things considered, looks okay. And the reason I'm concerned about my tension is my yarn, my contrast color is sport weight, sport to like light DK, and my main color is worsted, and it's supposed to be 2 worsted weight yarns. But I was like, YOLO, sue me, whatever. We'll see what happens. I did run into a few more places where my handspun got a bit wonky. I talked about this last time. This is beginner yarn, not quite beginner yarn. It's early yarn. It is from 3 years ago. It's been in my library for a while. It's from the early parts of my spinning career. But again, use your handspun. So here's what the yoke looks like. Sorry, I've been moving it around a lot. Here's what the yoke looks like. I love this, man. I'm so pleased. I hate that I'm gonna have to wait for forever to wear this. So now at this point, next thing I have to do is do the short rows, and then it's stockinette in the round, it's sleeves, and it's a collar. What I did do is I split the remainder of my handspun into 2 mini skeins. So this is what I have left, and I split it. I split it into 2 mini skeins because one of the things I've heard, this is my first Sari Nordland pattern. I own several Sari Nordland patterns. I've never made one, but I own several of them, because I was talking to someone about how buying patterns, buying yarn, and knitting are 3 different hobbies. And I'm sure other people have talked about this. Like, this is not an original thought that I've had, but like those 3 things are 3 different hobbies. And I buy patterns and I add patterns to my queue all the time, and I never get around to making them. But one of the things I've heard about Sari is that her pattern yardage recommendations are not great. They tend to be low. It was one of the most common feedbacks I heard from the book club cardigan, was that the yardage estimates were not great. So what I did is I had 120 yards left of my handspun, and I'll bring it a little bit closer so you can kind of see the colors. Here we go. This is what Aurora looks like. I had 120 yards left of this, so I used my whirligig. There was a lot of math involved here. So I took my leftover cakes, and then I skeined it up on the whirligig, and then I took that skein on the whirligig, and then I skeined it again into two individual skeins. That is one of my favorite things about having the whirligig, is that sort of like situation is automated, so I'm not winding by hand, and it also counts my wraps, so it does a lot of the work for me. It's one of my favorite things about it. So I split these 2 because this pattern does have color work on the sleeves, and I didn't want to get into the color work on the sleeves, use more than half my yarn on one sleeve, and then go to the other sleeve and not have enough. So now I have 2 individual skeins. So I'm going to start my color work on one sleeve. If I run out of yarn in the middle of the chart, then I'll know how many rows I can do on the other chart. And I mean, I hope that means that my sleeve, I might just do extra ribbing if that happens. If my sleeves end up short because I don't have enough yarn, I will just do extra ribbing. I had 370 yards of this, and the pattern said you need 330 in my size. I'm knitting a size 5. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm okay. But again, because this is common feedback that comes up for Sari patterns, I wanted to make sure that I was prepared. So here's WIP 1, my Northern Lights pullover. I hope I said something that sounded intelligent about it instead of just screaming at the camera because how much I like that yoke, which honestly, if that's what happens, it's kind of incredible. It's kind of incredible. All right, I'm gonna keep showing you things you've seen before we start talking about the things that you haven't seen. So work in progress number 2 is my test knit for Alicia Plummer. And this is, oh, I'm losing little safety pins. Hold on, I just like stabbed myself. This is my river. The working title is the River Pullover. And the last time I showed it to you, it was just a body in the round. And I did a lot of work on this. It's almost a sweater. Literally the last time I showed it to you, I was like right here because I hadn't even split front and back. I had just done, this is a bottom up sweater. It is very hard to hold because it is very long and it's very big. I'm 6 feet tall. It's very long and it's very big. So I think the last time I showed it to you, I had just been ready to split for the front and back. I have split front and back. I have joined front and back, and I've knit my collar and my button band. My button band is pinned into place right now with a bunch of those like locking stitch markers. And then I picked up for one sleeve and I started the short rows on the sleeve. And then I put this in the basket because I was like, I'm doing okay with timing on this project. So I put it away to work on something else. I'm knitting this also out of Blue Sky Wool Stock. This is in the color Cranberry Compote. This pattern has a bunch of things I've never done before. This is my first bottom-up garment. That's not true. I've started several bottom-up garments. This is the first one that I've made this much, it's over here. This is the first one I've made this much progress on. This is my first like Henley style, I guess it's called the Henley style. The pattern also comes with instructions to put in a zipper, but I knew that I would just be happier with a button, like a button placket here. So this is my first time working a pattern that has like a button placket in the middle. It's sort of like right here. So there's a bunch of firsts here. Because this is a test knit, you know, the patterns evolve, right? Like there's been a lot of iterations of this pattern as I've been working on it. So there's been a few places where I've had to stop and wait for new instructions, which is again, what you do when you're test knitting, right? Like if you're doing a test knit, you just have to understand that like, it's going to be slow going because you have to give the designer feedback and wait for the designer to actually update. Oh, also this is my first time working a 3-needle bind off, and that seam looks pretty tidy. Honestly, one of my least favorite things about drop shoulder patterns is having to pick up stitches in multiple places. And this bottom up construction and then doing the 3-needle bind off, I don't know, I kind of prefer it to like the traditional method. Now I couldn't try it on. Like I had to just trust Alicia, which I do. She's really good design sense. This sweater, More Thoughts, has the deepest armhole I've ever seen. Like we were talking to Alicia about the pattern being short, should we add length to the body? And she was like, no, the armhole's really deep and it adds length. So like, don't worry about it. So what I did is I added an inch. So I knit my body to 12 inches instead of 11. Because again, I'm 6 feet tall and I saw where it hit on Alicia and I didn't want this to be cropped. Like we had talked about this last time where if I knit everything to pattern, it's cropped. I wanted this to be like a slouchy sweater and I didn't want it to be cropped. I've tried it on. And it hits right at high hip. It hits me exactly where I wanted it to. It's a little bit shorter on Alicia. And if I had knit it to pattern, it probably would have hit me proportion-wise in a similar place where it hit her. But I wanted this to be longer. And especially because the sleeves are huge and it just feels like a really warm, slouchy sweater. And I thought that I would be better served with it to be longer. So I have already, again, finished my button band. I have my little like buttonholes. So all this needs is sleeves. According to, hold the phone, I need notes. Notes have been acquired. So according to my test knit countdown, I have 28 days to finish this. So I have 28 days to add a pair of sleeves. I am doing so good with timing on this. And that's part of the reason why I put it down. And I was like, I need to work on some of my other test knits and also just work on some of my other like random cast-ons. But here we are. I almost have a full sweater. I have 4 weeks to knit a pair of sleeves, which honestly, the way I knit when I'm focused on something, a pair of sleeves is like 3-4 days work. So I have 4 weeks to do maybe 3-4 days work. There is very few reasons why this will not be a finished object by the time I see you next time in the next 2 weeks. And literally the only reason would be I just didn't feel like working on sleeves and I did something else. But again, I have 4 weeks to finish this. So we are doing great on time with this test. The other test knit that I showed you is my Softly Vest test knit for Sarah Opie at S Knits. And I didn't make nearly as much progress on this the last 2 weeks. I did some, but I I didn't do nearly as much progress as I thought I was going to because, again, I was distracted and working on other things. But here's what the fabric looks like so far. Last time I showed it to you, I literally had just cast it on. So I've done a lot of the back. I think I finished the increases in the back, and I'm right at the place where you just start working it flat. This fabric is so incredibly nuanced. I don't know where to hold it so you can see it. It's so incredibly nuanced. It is reading a green, gray, and there's all those pops of yellow because I'm holding Minerva. Where is the chill? Sorry, the cats have the zoomies. Joshua and I just got home and the cats have the zoomies. I'm holding 3 yarns for this. So I'm Minnie. Thank you. Thank you. I have a skein of CVM. This is gray CVM from Knudsen. I have a skein of mint green mohair. This is sage mohair by Hedgehog Fibers. And then I have a skein of Handspun. And this is the color Wisp on Cheviot by Wee Chickadee. And those are my 3 yarns that I'm holding. So this is what they look like together. And so you can see all those yellows, like those yellows and ochre colors. That is really coming out in the fabric. It is just, I probably should like include a picture. I'll try to remember to include a picture so you can see how nuanced it is because you're really losing a lot of it in the photo. I also have another Hello Lavender stitch marker. This is the violet color. I mean, a progress keeper. But yes, so I have not made nearly as much progress. This is probably going to be the thing that I work on the most in the next 2 weeks. I would like to finish the back and start the front in the next 2 weeks. This is a vest, so there's no sleeves. And oh, here's another thing. This is my first time working double knitting, which I think I said last time. I've never worked double knitting. The other reason why I did not make as much progress is I did a bad job of reading the instructions and I had to rip back half my work. So you do a different thing with the double knitting up here. And then once you start knitting straight, you're supposed to do something different with this edge. And I kept doing the thing that you were doing with the edge up here. And I looked at it and I was like, mine doesn't look like Sarah's. What am I doing? And then I realized I read the pattern wrong and I had to rip back 6 inches of stockinette flat, which again, not the end of the world. But then I got really frustrated because I had to rip back. And I rarely rip back. Most of the time, it's something so small, I just don't rip back. But 1, this is a test knit and I want to make sure I'm doing things correctly. And 2, the edge just didn't look nice. So I ripped it back and then I knit it all. And then by the time I finished knitting to where I was before, I was frustrated and I put it away. And these buckets are making too much noise. By the time I knit to where I was like back in the same place, I was frustrated. And so I was like, I'm just going to put it away and not work on it for a week. So that's part of the reason why this is all I have, is because I made a mistake, had to rip it all the way back and do it again. According to my countdown, I have 42 days to knit a vest. I'm not worried. That sounds cocky. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm sure that sounds cocky and that sounds like hubris, because there's a universe where my knitting mojo completely like walks away and leaves me. But as things stand, I'm not worried about getting this done. I feel like I'm in a really good place to get this done. This was a day of knitting. Like I did this in 1 day, including ripping back 6 inches and having to do it again. It was a Saturday where I just laid around and watched TV and I did this in a day. So if I work on this after work a few nights, I will get this back done. And then it's just to knit the front. And because you're doing the edging at the same time, there's no picking up. There's none of that. You literally just knit the back. You pick up along this edge. This is the softly vest. I can't remember if I said that or not. But you pick up along this edge for the front. And then the only thing you actually have to pick up and knit is the collar. So it's a beautiful construction. I've tested for Sarah before. Sarah writes brilliant patterns, really, really brilliant patterns. Is an incredibly thoughtful pattern designer. Especially if you're doing a technique that you've never done before, like I am with this double knitting. Incredibly thoughtful designer, writes really lovely things. And I can't wait to wear this because I'm going to be able to wear this now. That's the other thing when I want to get it done is before summer hits, this is going to be a great thing layered over a t-shirt. I'm in my vest era. I don't know if I said that out loud, but this is going to be a great thing layered over a t-shirt. And I really want to get it done. I'm knitting this on 9s. I can't remember if I said that, but I'm knitting this on 9s, which is 5.5 millimeter needles. And so that's the 3rd working progress that you have seen. So let's talk about the 3 that you haven't. Okay, so of the 3 that you haven't seen, 2 more are test knits, which is like a problem, I know. 2 more test knits, but one's another slipover, and one's me knitting in fingering weight yarn on toothpicks. So we'll see. But the first one that I have that I've made a fair bit of progress on, this is I'm putting the buckets down because my needles keep hitting the buckets and it's making too much noise. This is the Gramps Slipover by Tanya Woodward. It's going to be on the screen. This is the Gramps. I know her name's Tanya. This is the Gramps Slipover, and I have knit the back, and I've knit half of the front, and I knit the collar because I wanted to see what this collar looks like. This collar is going to require some blocking. I don't know what I do with my ribbing here, but it looks janky. It does. It looks janky, and I hope that blocking fixed it. I don't know why it's so ripply. Like, I really don't know what I did wrong here, but we'll see. I'm gonna like mush it in when I block it, and hopefully I can fix this. I'm knitting this out of Kelborn Woolens Oatmeal Heather, and my contrast color is Autumn Heather. And like, a moment of silence for this yarn. Look at all the colors in it. It looks green, but it's like ochre and like rust and olive. It's literally autumn. Like, it looks like fallen leaves in a cake. Go on Ravelry. Do yourself a favor and go on Ravelry and look at pictures of this yarn. This yarn's incredible. I've knit with Kelborn Woolens before. It is, the base is Scout, by the way. It is a non-superwash wool base. It is one of my favorite. Between this, Gilliat, and Blue Sky Woolstock, those are like, that's my wheelhouse. That is my favorite workhorse yarns because I prefer knitting DK to worsted weight garments. We'll see if I'm coming around. But I prefer knitting DK to worsted weight garments, and I prefer knitting with non-superwash wool. And this is still next to skin. This is next to skin for a lot of people. And I'm really excited about this. So what I have to do next, I have 3 more inches left to knit flat on the front, which, thank God, I'm so sick of knitting flats. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. So many of my projects require me to knit flats. I have 3 more inches of knitting flat on the front, and then you join it in the round and you do a fun slip stitch mosaic thing. According to my notes, I have a little tracker on my phone for all my test notes so I can make sure that I'm working on them. I have 28 days on this, and all I have to do is, again, knit 2 inches stockinette, join it in the round, knit the body, and then do armhole ribbing. So I think what I'm going to do this week in terms of what I'm focusing on my test is I'm going to focus on this, and I'm going to focus on my soft leaf vest and try to like really make some like actionable progress that I can see on it, so I can feel like I'm moving forward on it. Because my river test is so close to being done that I can just ignore it for a week or two and still keep pace. And I really want to give some love to some of the ones that are like in the earlier stages. But yes, but this is my Gramps Slipover. Again, I'm in my vest era. I don't know what else to say. I'm in my vest era. I'm really looking forward to just having wool slipovers that I can throw on over t-shirts or over button downs. I wear my weekend. Is it the weekend one? My weekend slipover by Petite Knit all the time. And I didn't think I was going to, but once I started wearing it all the time, I was like, all right, I need more slipovers. It's the same reason why I'm like, I need more shawls. If I'm wearing the thing that I'm making, then I need to make more of the thing so I can keep wearing it. Like, that makes sense, right? That's how logic works. That's how logic works. Instead of just wearing the things that I have, I'm like, what if I had more? What if I had options? I keep tucking my hair behind my ear, and I hate that. I don't know what's wrong with me. So yes, so here's my Gramps Slipover. The test has been great. It's being run on Ravelry. This is my first time knitting anything by this designer. I follow her, and I saw her do a testing call for this, and I was like, I don't need any more test knits. And then she posted that she was still looking for makers in like around my size range, and I was just like, I could probably knit a slipover. And then I sent an email, and I was like, I'm not gonna get picked. And then she sent me an email the next day, and she was like, here's the pattern. And I was just like, all right, now I must make it. Which, I love this yarn. I love this pattern. It's interesting. It is one of the deepest, I feel like I just said this, but it is one of the deepest armholes I've seen on any of the vest patterns. Like, I went comparing it to other vest patterns that I have, and it's one of the deepest armholes that I've seen on the other slipovers that I have, but it's also a really short body. It's a really interesting shape where a lot of the length comes from the armhole and not necessarily from the stockinette and the round. And I think it's going to be a good fit for button downs, not necessarily like a snug t-shirt, but like a button down that has like a thicker blousey sleeve. I think it's going to be a really good fit. Like, if you look, I put the picture, I'm assuming, but if you look at the way Tanya has it styled, she has it over like one of those, it looks very similar to the zero waist gathered dress. I don't think that's what it is, but it looks very similar to that, where the sleeves are very, very deep and like the arm side is so low. And I'm a bit sweaty. But not only that, I don't want anything against my skin. Like I can wear wool next to skin, but I have a lot of like sensation issues. And the idea of like things against my armpits give me the heebie-jeebies. So if I can like construct things that have a lower arm size so it's not super close to my body, also it means I have to wash it less often, which also is an excellent plus. So I'm loving these deeper armholes on the garments that I'm making. So that is the test knit number 1 that you haven't seen. We'll do non-test, and then we'll do test again. So let's do non-test. Non-test is the Cream Cardi by Alicia Plummer. I saw the tests being worked on. Like I saw people sharing their test stuff, and I was like, oh God, I'm gonna need this, aren't I? I'm gonna need this. And then it dropped, and everyone and their mother was sharing it in their stories, and I was like, I can resist. And then my friend Brenna was just like, Tazhi, and I was like, Brenna. And then Brenna was like, Tazhi. And then I was like, Brenna. And then Brenna was like, Handspun. And I was like, Handspun. So this is yarn that the year 2025 is the year of working with early yarn. That's what I'm realizing is I'm really not prioritizing, but it just seems to be happening that I've been working with a lot of early yarn this year, which is incredible because I'm learning so much about the yarn that I've made, and I'm learning so much about how I want to change my spinning going forward. But this is fleece. It's so white. It's so white that I don't even know what to do with it. This was a Clun Forest BFL lamb, and this is my first sheep to skein project. It's so special. This is my first sheep to skein, full sheep to skein. Like I did like one little blob that my friend Sam shared with me, but this is my first full sheep to skein project. And I have 1,800 yards of it, 1,700, somewhere between 1,700 and 1,800 yards of it. It is sport weight, like, it's sport. It's inconsistent, so it's mostly sport weight. But I carded this myself, spun it up into 2-ply yarn, and I have so much of it. And this pattern is written for worsted, so I did the thing. Mohair. That's the thing. That's right. That's the thing you do. So this is Isire Silk Mohair, and it's the color 6. And this is my first time working with Isire Silk Mohair. I was watching Taylor Owen, and she was saying that the Isire Silk Mohair is the softest silk mohair she's used. And I'm not a mohair connoisseur, but I've used a few brands. Is that true? I've used Knitting for Olive. I'm like, what else have I used besides Knitting for Olive? I've used Knitting for Olive. I have some hand-dyed mohair, but I've never made anything with it. So like literally every finished project that I've made that has mohair has Knitting for Olive mohair. So that's all I have to compare it to is I have Knitting for Olive mohair. No, I've used Biche Bouche mohair once. This is my first time trying the Isire mohair, and it's dreamy. So here's my cream cardigan by Alicia Plummer. I'm making the size 4, which is the 50-inch bust. And here's what I have so far. The lights, you guys, again, forgive me. I have no idea how to set up my small space with that light. I need lighting, and I don't know how to set up the lighting so it's not super bright and washing out everything. And one of these days, when I have the brain power to actually think about it, I will spend time and think about how to make it better. But today's not that day. So, bear with me. I'm here, I'm sharing, bear with me. So here's what it looks like. I'm just gonna hold it back here. I can't hold it any closer. So you do this this is bottom up. You do this ribbing, and then the cardigan is garter. There's no purling. None. Not a single stitch. I'm lying, there's ribbing. There's so much ribbing. But after the ribbing, there's no purling. So you knit this, oh gosh. No, you can't see. Maybe. So you do this garter, and you can't see it. I'm so sorry. I'm not making promises. I'll do my best. I'll try to fix it for next time. But you do this garter. So here you do, and then the cool thing is you work the ribbed button band as you work the cardigan. So there is no picking up stitches. I don't know if that's true. You don't pick up stitches from the button band? I hope that's true. As far as I've read, you don't pick up stitches for the button band, because now I'm seeing all these things and I haven't read that far ahead in the pattern. I don't know if any of those are true, but you are working the button band as you work the garter. So you do this, there's so many, there's a million stitch markers in this. So you do the button band ribbing, and then you do your garter, and then you do your garter all the way around, and then you do your button band ribbing. I'm knitting this on sevens, which is what the pattern is written for, is US 7s. I did gauge swatch. I got gauge. I've been better about gauge swatching recently. I've been trying. I was talking to my friend Judy, and she was just like, swatching is part of knitting. And not to dump on anyone who doesn't gauge swatch, to each their own. But she was like, swatching is part of knitting. Like, you learn a lot about, not only are you on gauge, but do you want to work with this fabric in this garment, in this construction? Does this fabric that you're creating, does this yarn lend itself to the fabric that you want to create? And is the knitting experience pleasurable? And I was like, yeah, no, that's smart, because I always think about gauge swatching about this as this thing that I have to do to get to the fun part. And now I'm starting to think about gauge swatching as this thing that I get to do. And I was talking to Christopher at Flannel and Pearls, because I planned to make a shawl, and I had sent him 3 different, it's a mosaic shawl. I can't quit mosaic. And as soon as I start it, I don't want to do it anymore. And then I can't quit it. But I sent him these 3 different color patterns, and I was like, these are my options. And then he started mixing and matching the things that I sent him. And he was like, well, what about this and this? And what about this and this? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to swatch. And he was like, I love swatching. And I was like, yeah, there are lots of people out there who love swatching. The bottom line is I swatched for this. And I'm glad I did, because seeing that fabric got me so excited. So I'm not doing this as a formal knit along. Oh, I have to tell you, the Sari Nordland pattern is an informal buddy knit with my friend Kirsten at Stitch Vintage. She's knitting the book club pullover. We were supposed to knit the book club pullovers together, is how that started. And then the Northern Lights pullover came out, and I was like, Kirsten, eeks, I'm going to do this instead. So she's knitting the book club pullover, and I'm knitting this, and we're doing a Sari buddy knit. Brenna and I and Andrea at the Knitting PT are all working on this together, and we like checking on each other and send each other like, and listen, we're not the only people knitting this. I saw that, my Lord, I'm forgetting her name, Long Dark Fiber, I forget her name, it's making me really mad, but she's knitting hers in this like juicy tomato red, and the picture she shared, she had her red yarn with tomato stitch markers and tomato needle stoppers, and I was just like, so on brand. This is so on brand. I have mohair everywhere. There's so much mohair in the things that I'm making. I have mohair everywhere. Yes, so it's not like a formal knit along, but I am checking in with all my friends on the people who are making this, and it's a great pattern. It's a cropped boxy cardigan. This is gonna get so much wear because it's a neutral color. It's gonna fit in my wardrobe really easily, and it's just a thing that I pick up because it's garter. It requires very little no, not really thoughts. So all of my things that are non-test knits right now are just like good, gushy background projects for when I don't want to think about a test. And that's part of the reason why I like to have, I could never be a monogamous knitter, and that's okay. That's okay. Like there are a million ways of making, as there are makers, and I couldn't be a monogamous knitter. 1, because I get overwhelmed with certain projects, and 2, like I don't always have the brain space for what a project requires from me, right? Like if I'm working on something that's drop shoulder, I don't always want to knit stockinette flat. So then do I just not knit because I don't want to knit stockinette flat that day? Or if I'm stuck on sleeves, I don't always want to knit that sleeve. So do I not knit because I don't want to knit that sleeve? And there's a universe where you could force yourself to do that. But my crafts are my place of escape. If you're new here, I don't know if you know this. You probably don't know this because you're new here. But I'm an OR nurse. I haven't talked about my job in a really long time. So like, even if you're not new here, you might not know this. But I'm an OR nurse. I'm actually the director of nursing for my surgery center. My job takes a lot out of me every day, and knitting is how I've been escaping. Part of the reason why so much knitting has been getting done is it is escapism. We're being 100% upfront about it. The universe is what it is. The country is what it is. The government is what it is. And knitting has been how I've been hiding from it. And like, it's also been how I've been processing a lot of my grief, a lot of my rage, a lot of my frustration, and a lot of my fear. And so like knitting has been a really good place for me to like sit down and deal with that. So then I could just, like I was talking to I posted this in my like caption, joy, craft, resist. That is literally how I've been living my life. I find joy, I make things, and then I resist. I make my phone calls. I do all the things I'm supposed to do. I protest. I like go march. I do all the work that is mine to do. And so the knitting is the part of the joy in the craft that helps fuel me so that I can go do the resisting. That's literally how I've been. And then also I have to do my job in the middle of all that. So all of that to say that I can't be a monogamous knitter. I need multiple things because my knitting scratches multiple itches. I do have ADHD. My brain's kind of strange. And so I need multiple things that scratch itches. And so having all these projects ongoing is really good for me so that if I'm in the mood to work on something more complex, I can. But if I just want to knit some squishy garter back and forth, I have this cardigan. So it might linger. It might be a long-term project, and I'm okay with it. There's no deadline on it. I have no self-imposed deadline on it. It might linger. And we'll update it. It's like my study session pullover. I have finished the body ribbing and I finished the V-neck ribbing, but I have so much to show you that I was like, I'm not going to pull it out until I start working on sleeves. But that is another project that is now just in the back because all it needs are sleeves. So when I want to work with Ulysses and I want to play with that yarn, I will pull it out and I'll put a few rows on that sleeves. And when I'm done with it, I put it away. And yes, again, it means that projects linger, but I have no issue with projects lingering. That is just literally how I make, my stick season was on my needles since November 2023. My body has not changed significantly that I'm not worried about, I'm not worried about my things fitting. I like gain a little, lose a little, but I've reached what I think is my maintenance weight. So like my body doesn't change all that much unless I like go ham and try to force it to change. And then that's not great for my mental health either. So I don't really like worry so much about like knitting projects staying on the needles for a year. It gets done when it gets done. It gets done when it gets done. My last work in progress is very different from everything else you've seen. It's also quite, it's in a very silly place. It's in a very silly place. So my last work in progress is a test knit for Amy Scher, and I'm testing her weekend Cami. And to be quite honest, I'm not as far along on this as I should be, because it took me a while to get gauge, and it took me a while to find needles that worked. And I still don't think I found needles that worked. And I honestly am I'm not going to switch to bamboo needles in the middle of my garment, but I'm wondering if bamboo needles would have helped. So I'm knitting this with Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. This is my first time using, it's on a Lemon Love needle, no, a Lemon Love yarn minder, because I took it in the car today. This is my first time using one of these. I'm obsessed. I understand why people have them right now, by the way. I'm obsessed with this. So here's my yarn. It's in the color Plum Rose, and I am knitting mine on US 4s. The pattern is written on 3s, and it has a 26 stitch gauge, and on 3s, I was getting 29 to 30. I tried 3s on metal, and I had 29 to 30. I tried 3s with wood, and I still got 29 to 30. My stitches did not tighten up at all. And I did not want to, if this was a pattern that I was making not out of, like outside of a test knit, I would have just picked a different size. But because this is for a test knit, I wanted to stick to the pattern gauge as much as possible. I swatched on 4s, and I got 26. I got like 26, 27 in multiple places. And then I held up my fabric on 3s against my fabric on 4s. And I literally sat on it for a week because I wasn't sure, because this pattern has negative ease. And so Amy was just like, pick your fabric so that if it stretches, you're still happy with it. And I literally sat on this for a week before I actually cast it on and started, because I was just going back and forth about my fabric. Like, do I just message Amy and say like, there's no needle size between 3 and 4. My gauge is on 4, but I don't know if I prefer the fabric on 3s. Like, I don't know if I prefer the tighter fabric. And I sat on it. I held it up to the light multiple times, and I decided to go and cast on 4s. So I'm finally working on this. Finally working on this. This test started a while ago. It literally took me 2 weeks to swatch and pick fabric. And what I have to show are these silly little triangles. Because it's a V-neck, so you start with the fronts. So I finished one front. Get out. I finished one front, and I am on my second front. And I have 6 more rows on this second front to finish. And then I will join the fronts, and then start working the front yoke, and then do the back, and then join it in the round. I will say, having knit this for a while, I do like the fabric on the 4s. I think there's just, gauge swatching is, you get a lot of information on it, but you don't always get like everything. Like fabric in a bigger like space with like increases and decreases and drape will do interesting things. I do like the fabric on 4s. I was genuinely concerned that I wasn't going to like the fabric on 4s, and I was going to have to send Amy a message just be like, I can't get gauge. And when I do get gauge, I don't like the fabric. But I do like the fabric a lot on 4s. And I will say, I don't hate the experience of knitting on toothpicks. If you were here last time, I did a lot of screaming about summer knitting. And I don't hate the experience of knitting on toothpicks. And I don't hate the experience of knitting with this yarn. I'm very confused about it. Like, I feel like I'm undergoing a metaphysical change. I don't know. I don't hate it. I will tell you what I do hate. This yarn is so splitty. I hate it. This yarn is, I just whacked myself in the teeth with this yarn. This yarn is so splitty. And I don't have any US4 Chow goos, so I'm using some other random needles that I had, and it's splitting it on every increase. And it's making working the increases torture. So tomorrow, when I go to my knitting event, I am buying 4 needles with my Chow goos. I have a cord, I just don't have needle tips. I have no idea where my 4s are in languishing WIPs, probably. I have no idea where my 4s are, but I will be buying 4s, and I think that's going to make this much easier, because if I have to knit the back with these, I will be very upset. It's working the increases is a chore, because this yarn splits so much. It splits so much. It is like not, it doesn't even look plied together at all. Like looking at it in the skein, it doesn't look plied together. It looks like it's just 3 strands next to each other. So then when you go to work increases, because this pattern has make one left and right, and so you have to stick it under that bar and then like knit through the back loop. I split every single stitch, and then I have to stop and like wrestle with it and make sure I have all three singles. It's not my jam. Everything else about this, I think once I start knitting in the round, this is going to be great. This fabric, first of all, this color, I think is going to be a great color on me for the summer. I'm really pleased about this. This fabric, I understand why people knit fingering weight sweaters now, like t-shirts. I don't know that I'm like fully converted, but I understand why people do it. This podcast is so long. Guys, this video is so long. I've been recording for 50 minutes and I'm not even halfway through what I have to talk to you about. We got to go. We got to go. This is great, by the way. This is the Pure Silk Knitting for Olive Plum Rose. It was in my my outside project bag. It is going to go in a basket and stay at home where I can work on it. And I'm going to put a new outside project in my book bag, which we will talk about in a second. Okay, I have 2. We're not going to do a Sparks Joy this week because there's just too much going on. I do have an acquisition to show you, and it is here. And my acquisition is related to the Woolly Thistle knit along that they're starting. Oh, real quick before I progress, the Pure Silk I did buy from Amy Share. Their shop has a bunch of KFO yarns, and I am an affiliate from Amy's shop, so my link is in the description box. If you choose to shop, affiliate links cost you nothing, but they, support my channel, give me a little bit of kickback. So yes, Amy does have the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, which is what I'm using, and like a bunch of other fingering weight yarns, and has like the full Knitting for Olive line. Just want to throw that out here because it is related to this. So the Woolly Thistle is doing their shawl knit along, and I was just like, I am a shawl person. I am. I have seen the light. I am a shawl person. And there are 2 things here. One, when I went to Rhinebeck 2023, I bought the Great Shetland Adventure book. I'm looking at it. I keep looking over there because I'm looking at it. Because I was like, do I want to bring it down to show it to you? But that would require me to move. And I'm in like really good framing. I'm going to have to get up eventually. Maybe I'll ask Joshua to bring me a thing so I don't have to get up. I'm in really good framing. And I bought that book in 2023. And one of the things I really wanted to make in it was the Verdeck Shawl by Gudrun Johnson. And I had high hopes of spinning a Shetland yarn for it and knitting like a handspun Shetland shawl. And I didn't do that. And then the Woolly Thistle Cal came around and I was like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity for me to finally make that shawl. And then while I was at it, I was like, I can maybe make 2 shawls in the time that the Cal is over. That might be ambitious, but even if I don't make it in the time that the Cal is over, I will eventually get to those shawls. So this is Jameson's, I was like Jameson's and Sons, that's not wrong, right? Jameson's Shetland Spindrift, and this is in the color Earth. And this is what I'm going to make my Verdeck shawl out of. And part of the reason why I picked this color is names are escaping me today. Someone who tested Gudrun's new vest tested it in this color, and I saw it. Oh my God, her name starts with an M and it's making me so Maddie. I'm going to put a picture. This is making me so mad that I can't remember her name. But she tested it in this color and I was like, the next thing I've never knit with this yarn, by the way. This is my first time knitting this yarn. But I was like, whenever I make something with this, I'm going to use this yarn. And then I was like, oh, I want to make that shawl. And so there's this. And I also want to make the Sunlight on the Path Hap shawl. And it's written in Rama Phenol. And this is in the color 247. Which is like a blue. And part of the reason why I got 2 dark colors is I want more neutrals. I really like wearing that yellow shawl, the yellow hoarfrost, but I also realized that like a pop of color is not the vibe for me every day. And so these will be two neutrals in my wardrobe. I'm going to cast on this one first, and then when I finish this one, then I will cast on this one. These are going to both be my book bag projects. The knit along starts on the 28th. It is being run by the Woolly Thistle. I'm just hanging out. I'm hanging out. I'm there for the vibes. And I have my 2 shawls planned. The Woolly Thistle has a bunch of kits. If you want to do a kit, you can also just grab any yarn. All you have to do for the knit along is knit a pattern with yarn that you got from the Woolly Thistle. That's it. WIPs are welcome. Normal knit along rules. My link is in the description box if you plan on buying something from the Woolly Thistle and you want to support the channel. But again, I did, you know, I spent my own money on these and I really like them. I really like them. I'm really excited to try this like Rama yarn. One of my like things I want to do this year is 1, knit down stash, which I've been very good at, is knit down stash. But 2, if I am going to acquire yarn that I've never worked with before, I'm really trying to just be like smart that if I'm going to bring things in, it should be a thing that I haven't used before. So like the pure silk, never used it before. Jameson Spindrift, never used. Rama Phenol, never used. Trying to be really like particular about my acquisitions instead of just acquiring things that I just have lying around. And then also using this bad boy up because there's so much of it. There's just so much of it. Also, this is like that is most of my, what am I pointing at? This is most of my handspun, but it's not my fleece projects. Those are just my one-off skeins because my fleece projects are so big that they can't fit there. So like, I really have a ton of yarn that I can work through, and I'm just trying to be really like picky about what I bring in. But yes, these are the yarns that I got for the Woolly Thistle shawl knit along because again, I'm a shawl person. Why? That was so unnecessary and so over the top, but I'm a shawl person. So like, these are my yarns for the shawl knit along, and hopefully I have like some progress on the verdict to show you the next time I see you guys. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is a make along that I'm going to be running. And we'll say that this does double duty for this Sparks Joy segment. Today, we'll say it's doing double duty. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting. I've been thinking a lot about what I want to make with my handspun going forward. I love a good accessory moment, like I do, but I was like, what would I get a lot of wear out of? And I was thinking that what I would really get a lot of wear out of are layers. Things that I can add to my wardrobe and take off. Like I love a good pullover, right? But I feel like the things that I would get the most wear out of are vests and cardigans, especially going right now. Transition pieces I think will be solid. And so what I want to invite you on, this adventure that I want to invite you on, is the Handspun Layers Make Along. And we're calling it a make along because crocheters are welcome. If you want to weave and sew something, incredible. Join us. I will be knitting because that's just what I do. That's what I'll be doing. But it's a Handspun Layers Make Along. I already have my yarn, but like go off and spin something. I have two projects. No, I have 3 projects. I have 3 projects that I want to hopefully accomplish over the next 6 months. So I'm going to show them. I'll show you the yarn I have for them. So context, the knit along will be running. The make along will be running for 3 months. So the first thing I have is this is my mystery CVM that I spun in 2022, forgot about and plied like 3 weeks ago. And I have some Messiah soft fine, and this is alpaca. It's like suri, but it's like suri with yak. So it's alpaca, silk, and yak. And my plan is to hold these together and knit the cognac cardigan, but like the I-cord neckline. I saw, this is going to infuriate me. I can't remember anyone's names. Mel. String Things by Mel. I think that's her podcast. And she was doing Everything I Knit in 2024, and she had one of these cognac cardigans. And I was like, where's this cardigan been my whole life? Why have I never seen it? Why don't I have it? And it's knit on 10s. It's knit on 10s. It is going to fly off the needles. And it's like written for a sport with a suri or a sport with a mohair. And I just happen to have it. So this is one of the things I'm hoping to get done over the next 6 months. One of the other things I wanted to make, I fully blame, first of all, I blame this whole make-along on Melissa. I do. Because I was watching her video and she has so many vests and cardigans. And I was like, why don't I have those? Like, why don't I have those in my life? So now I'm going to make them. So the other thing I saw she made was the Paul cardigan. And then I went through that designer and there's a Paul vest. And I was like, yes. So I have this yarn that it is a 3-ply of two of the plies are fin and one of the plies is a fin cross. No, Yes. And I got this from San Juan Woolworks, and I have 1,100 yards. It was 12 ounces. I have 1,100 yards of 12 ounces, and it's a marl. So it has two plies of the dark yarn and one ply of the lighter yarn, and it's it's gonna be so good. So I'm gonna knit this into the Paul vest. And I don't know which one I'm supposed to start with. I'm really excited about the Paul vest. I am also going to make the Paul cardigan. It's going to be a red cardigan, and I don't know who I am. There was a version of me that was up at 2 a.m. that was sleep deprived and fueled by chaos and dysregulation, and that person decided to make a red Paul cardigan, and I'm living with the choices that that person made. No, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. I actually want to add more color to my wardrobe, so I think a red cardigan, because red could be a neutral. I think a red cardigan is a fun place to start. One of these days, I'm going to make something with that lime green skein, that lime green sweater quantity right there. But I think starting with red is a good place to go. So I'm going to make the red Paul cardigan, which again, I blame fully on Melissa, but I'm going to make the Paul vest in this. And my other plan is the Avenue vest by Tori Yu in this stupid skein. And it's stupid because this skein is 120 grams and it's 802 yards. I still don't know how I got this yardage from this. I talked about this at length last year. I washed the wool, I dyed the wool, I carded the wool, and then I spun it. So this was dyed in the wool before I processed it, and I got this like silly green color that I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed, but because I dye in a crock pot, I can't ever reproduce this. This is a one and done, and it is a stupid skein because I still don't understand how I have 800 yards and 100 ounces and 100 grams. I don't know how I did that. I don't know if I could ever do it again. But this is going to be the Tori vest. The Avenue vest by Tori Yu. So those are my plans over the next 3 months. Guys, I should never film at 8 o'clock again. My plans over the next 6 months. And I want to invite you. It's 9 o'clock, guys. My watch just gave me its bedtime notification, and I think you can tell by the fact that the word salad is just, we're gone. I want to invite you along this adventure for the Handspun Layers Make Along. All you have to do, spin some yarn, make a layer. That's it. Over the next 6 months. It's going to be real casual, real low key, real background. WIPs are welcome. All the stuff. My plan, as it stands, is to run it on Instagram with the Handspun Layers Make Along, and then I have my link to my Discord server in the description box if you want to come chat about your making on Discord. Discord is just a chatting thing. A lot of people are on Discord these days. Come chat about your making there. Let me know in the comments if you want a Ravelry thread. Like if Discord is not accessible for you and you don't want to be on Instagram, I'm not mad at you if you don't want to be on Instagram. You don't want to be on Instagram, let me know in the comments if you want a Ravelry thread. But right now, for the next 6 months, let's say we start March 28th. This video is going up tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 24th. Tomorrow's the 23rd. Let's say we start March 30th. We'll start a week from tomorrow. So that'll give you time if you plan on joining to like think about what you want to spin. I don't assume everyone has multiple garment quantities of yarn lying around. That's crazy. Like I don't assume that you did that. Or even if you do, maybe you want to spin something new. So that'll give you a week to think about what you want to spin. Maybe pick some projects so you know what you're spinning for. Oh, there's some things I wanted to tell you. I do have a video where I talk all about sweater spinning because I know that that's going to come up and someone's going to ask me. And I filmed it in 2023, but I watched it yesterday and that information is evergreen. It's very good, actually. I'm very proud of that video. So I will link that video in the description box. If you want to, the video is literally called the one where we talk about sweater spinning. If you've never spun for a sweater, if you've never checked grist before, if you've never sampled, if you've never done any of those things, that video has a lot of really good information. So I'm going to link that in the description box. And again, if you want a Ravelry thread, let me know. So that's it. We are not going to talk about what sparks joy. I have been talking, I have been talking a lot for a very long time and I'm tired. I am fatigued. It is time for me to, actually it's not time for me to do anything. It's time for me to go edit this video. But yeah, that's it guys. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for like hanging out, for being ride or die. I do see that a lot of you come back every single video and I see new names come up in the comments every single time. And I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you're choosing to spend your time with me. I'm so glad that you're allowing this chaotic corner of the internet to add to your making. And I hope it inspires you to chase joy, make cool things, and keep resisting. I love you. I really, really do, from the bottom of my heart. Go make something fun today.